Most people tune in to MMA and UFC fights expecting heart-pounding knockouts, jaw-dropping submissions, and those split-second moments where legends are made. The bright lights, roaring crowds, and raw aggression inside the cage create an adrenaline rush like no other sport. But here's the thing. What you see during those few electrifying minutes on fight night is only a tiny fragment of the entire story. The real drama unfolds behind the scenes, away from the cameras and the cheers, where the physical, mental, and emotional battles are often far tougher than the fights themselves. If you think the cage is where fighters face their biggest challenges, think again. The truth about MMA is darker, more intense, and way more human than most fans realize. Let's start with one of the most brutal and secretive parts of the sport: weight cutting. This process isn't just a routine. It's a grueling ordeal that can make or break a fighter's career. To compete in a specific weight class, fighters often have to shed enormous amounts of weight in just days leading up to the fight. Picture this: sweating out liters of water through intense workouts, sitting in saunas until you can't breathe, starving yourself and dehydrating to the brink of collapse, all just to weigh in at a number on the scale. For many, this process feels like torture. Their bodies are pushed to the absolute limit, causing dizziness, exhaustion, and sometimes serious health risks like kidney failure or fainting. It's not uncommon to hear fighters say that they lose more weight in that last week than in the entire months of training combined. The danger and suffering behind this ritual are rarely shown on TV, yet it's fundamental to the sport's structure. And when they finally hit that weight, their bodies are weak, vulnerable, and far from peak condition, yet they still have to perform. Weight cutting is only the opening act in a brutal play of endurance and pain. Training camps are legendary for their intensity. Fighters wake up before dawn, sometimes at 4 or 5 a.m., to begin hours of grueling workouts. The daily routine is a relentless mix of sparring, drilling techniques, strength training, cardio, and conditioning. Coaches push fighters to their limits, and fighters push themselves even harder because they know the slightest weakness can cost them the fight. Every punch thrown in practice is a risk, every kick a potential injury. There's no room for slackers, but it's not just about physical strength. The mental game is just as fierce. Fighters battle fear constantly. Fear of injury, fear of failure, fear of disappointing their team, their fans, and themselves. The pressure to succeed is crushing. Some fighters admit that the hardest fight they face isn't inside the cage, but inside their own heads. Then there are the emotional battles. After the fight lights go down and the crowd's roar fades, fighters face the rawest moments. Victory brings relief and joy, but it's often mixed with exhaustion and pain. Sometimes winning feels surreal, like barely escaping death in a war zone. And defeat? That's a heavier burden. Imagine dedicating months of your life to training and sacrifice, only to have everything shattered in a few minutes. The crushing weight of loss can lead to quiet tears backstage, sleepless nights, and harsh self-judgment. The emotional scars linger long after the physical wounds heal. And if you think the drama ends there, think again. Behind the scenes, MMA is a battlefield of politics, contracts, and money. Fighters fight for their place not just inside the cage, but in negotiations over pay, sponsorships, and promotional deals. There's a hidden game of alliances, rivalries, and power plays that can make or break careers. Fighters often struggle with unfair treatment, limited bargaining power, and pressure to take fights on short notice just to stay relevant. The industry is ruthless, and only the toughest survive. But despite all these brutal realities, fighters keep coming back. Why? Because MMA isn't just a sport. It's a passion, a calling, and for many, a way of life. It's about proving to yourself and the world that you can endure, overcome, and rise. The cage is just the final stage where all the sweat, pain, and sacrifice are tested. Behind every punch and kick is a story of resilience and grit that most fans never see. So next time you watch a fight, remember this. You're witnessing the tip of an iceberg built on months, sometimes years of blood, sweat, tears, and untold struggles. Every fighter stepping into the cage carries not just the weight of their opponent, but the weight of an entire journey filled with sacrifices and silent battles. Knowing the real story behind MMA will change how you watch the sport forever. You won't just see fighters, you'll see warriors who have battled forces far beyond what happens inside that cage. And trust me, once you know the truth, you'll never watch a fight the same way again.